Hello, my name is Ido Gabi, and I will present to you today the way to stop waste in oceans by using basically the local motor power that already exists in the rivers. So let's begin with the basics. Now, we already know that most of the waste that comes to the oceans comes from very specific part of the world, and comes not only from a very specific part of the world, but a very specific part of the rivers of a very specific part of the world. The reason is because, well, that is where the waste is being spilled. And therefore, if we would find a way to remove this waste from the rivers, then we will be able to prevent this waste from coming in the ocean in the first place. Now, how do we do that? So, of course, something very important to establish is that plastic, at least by the vast majority of it, is buoyant. It's buoyant in water, meaning it will float on water, and that's part of the reason it gets to the oceans in the first place. So that is a trait that's going to be very important. Another thing is which players do we even have in the field? So we have the following players. We have the people with the boats. And in every river there are boat captains and boat owners that are basically sailing back and through. Rivers are a very efficient way to deliver goods, and it is in almost every place in which there's a river, there's an economy around that river. So it means that there are people roaming in it. It is very efficient to deliver things through water, so obviously that is to be expected in every place almost that there is a river. Another thing to take under consideration is the irregular economy, meaning the people who are actually taking care of wastes afterwards in those countries. And the people who do are basically hardworking people that are usually not very let's call it high society, let's call it rich, and they work for their living by taking plastic and selling it to people who then melt it and recycle it. Now, of course, the problem is that those people depend on the waste on the river, meaning the damage of all of us is their benefit and their life factor. Without that, they will not have a livelihood. So whichever solution we're going to select will have to be something that somehow makes sure that those people who have done nothing wrong but cleaning our rivers will be able to maintain a living. So, what did I come up with? So what I came up with is, we already know that we have ships in the rivers, and ships is basically boats in most rivers. And we already know that plastic is buoyant, meaning that if there will be a current in the correct direction, the plastic will come out of the river. So what can we do with that? So what we can do is, of course, we can, use the power of the motors of the ships in order to push the plastic outside of the river. Again, that creates another problem, and the problem is that this plastic is then found in the river itself, in the banks of the river itself. So that will be solved in another part of the solution. So part one is that solution has an app in which people like boat owners have, like either a kit or just by smartphone, have the ability to go and detect if there is any waste in their area. Obviously, it is geolocation based. And once waste is being detected, it is sent to a remote server because we don't trust the local machine to address that. The initial image processing is done on the local machine in order to save resources, but any kind of decision making is made based on input from a remote server. So once that is done, and once that is established, basically the captain and the other captain is being offered to clear the waste using the motor by basically zigzagging, which is, if this is the riverbank, you go and you zigzag around the riverbank and your motor stream basically pushes the waste into the riverbank. Either that or you drop the anchor and do the exact same. So by that, of course, the boat owner is being paid in cash. Now that is the only source of expense in this project. Of course, this is not a big expense because in these countries wages are not so high, so of course people are willing to work for something that in the West would be defined as low. Okay, so after we did that, we are left with another problem, and this is that we have waste. And this waste is in the riverbank. So, okay, we have saved the oceans, but we have destroyed the rivers, didn't we? So no. So what's going to happen is that the second such an action is being done and the captain is being paid, a notification that there is waste in this part of the river and its geolocation is being presented in the solution app. And of course that can be seen by all. So the people who collect the waste can go and select and go to locations in which there is, basically trash. Now what does that do to them and their income? Of course their income is not being hurt. because they can still go and collect the trash. Now, what happens is it's actually increasing because they can go and not only select which trash to collect, they can go to the place in which there's most amount of trash. So that basically is the solution. It's using the resources that are already there. It's a software solution. It's supposed to be very cheap. You can do it with basically with a sensor kit for the camera element, or you can do it with, just with a smartphone. So it is a simplified, approach in order to approach the problem, but it's one that actually is going to work. So hopefully you like it, and thank you for listening, and I look forward to your feedback. Bye-bye.